So the section we have now, well, the title is Telephone Vampires. Now, I've so often had workshop organizers complain, oh, this person was on the phone and saying, this is my life. And the world used to seem like a nice place until you heard my story. You know, the person has this ability to pass on bad news, pass on how things are complicated. And the workshop organizer, oh yes, I had to help him. Well, remember the dysfunctional, unholy trinity. You know, every savior needs a victim. Every victim needs an abuser. And you know, if the promoter wants to be the savior, he's not actually selling the workshop. Where the work is done in the workshop, the work is not done on the telephone. So if the event producer is in the negative polarity of the lover archetype and is a compulsive helper, we'll try to help them on the phone, which makes it difficult for them to actually arrive at the workshop and have real professional help. It's very simple. You know, they keep asking, oh, what do I say when the person says, can you do this? What can happen there? There's only one good answer, or there's only one good answer for this particular segment, which is, say, I'm so curious what Rowland will do to change that in the workshop. Put it in the workshop that change will be done. It should not be guessed at how I will work. You cannot guess how I will work. You cannot even guess what the person's problem is. You might think you know what the person's problem is because they spend half an hour on the phone. Well, actually you have no idea. Because if the person had told the truth about the problem, would have disappeared by saying it. So therefore, the way they tell you the problem always contains a series of lies. And a person describing a problem in a difficult way will describe it so it sounds to you like it can't be solved. So by definition, they will describe the same problem to the workshop teacher a completely different way, because they will describe it to the workshop teacher in the way that he will think it can't be solved. They will describe it to their mother in the way that she will think it can't be solved. Don't imagine they're going to tell the problem the same way to another person. No, they tell the problem the way it sounds like it's a problem, the way it sounds like it can't be solved. So you don't even need to register what they say as a problem. You don't need to tell me about it, because I normally find no connection between how the person describes the problem to me and how they describe the problem to you. You know, the problem-solving person, the problem-describing person, is accustomed to how to talk to get an audience, how to be heard, how to attract attention, how to be part of a drama. So while I say, in one sense, telephone vampires because they're sucking your energy on the phone, that's because you put yourself in a role where you are a compulsive helper giving away your energy. It is not the fault of the person on the phone. So leave the therapy to the workshop situation, and simply tell them the results, tell them that they can book in, and you'll be curious how this will be solved during the workshop. If it's some real question, you could pass on a simple question, and it may be necessary for me to say at which workshop that particular type of situation will be solved. For example, if the person says, I have this voice in my head and it's so black and it tells me it hates me, well, I might say, well, that is absolutely certain to be found to be a very normal thing to be easily solved in the de-obsession workshop, because they're speaking of an obsession, whether the obsession sounds like it's something talking or an addiction, is still an obsession, and that's the de-obsession workshop. It is not guaranteed that the total basis of all things is done in the first workshop, because that's why we have a series. However, doing the entire series of workshops costs so much less than the medical bills of one small chronic problem. So if you don't want to be telephone vampirized, send them a registration form. And if you really think that this is some different thing, well, you can write me a different form, and on the form should have what you think the person needs to fill out, so that it can be known which course will solve the problem. That's our section on telephone vampires in the Atelier of Power Workshop Presenter series.